Knowing Trump, I think he was waiting to see if somebody was going to emerge, if somebody was going to step up, if somebody was going to take this opportunity and say, yeah, you know what, I should be speaker. But we heard nothing. We heard nothing from nobody. All right, just moments ago, Donald Trump put out a very long message on Truth Social. It's been reposted on X, the everything platform. And we should read into it here because it's a big, long statement, and it ends with a full-throated, unequivocal endorsement for Mike Johnson as Speaker of the House. That's right, you heard me, Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House. Here's the message from real Donald Trump. We are the party of common sense. A primary reason that we won in a landslide the magnificent and historic presidential election of 2024. All 7 swing states, 312 electoral college votes, and the popular vote by millions of voters, despite large-scale voter fraud taking place in numerous states, including California, where votes are ridiculously still being counted or under review. All won with ease, calm, and professionalism. Republicans are being praised for having run a legendary campaign. Democrats are being excoriated for their effort, having wasted $2.5 billion, much of it unaccounted for, with some being used to illegally buy endorsements. $11 million to Beyonce, who never sang a song. $2 million to Oprah for doing next to nothing, and even $500,000 to Reverend Al, a professional con man and instigator who agreed to interview their star-spangled candidates, Kamala and Joe. I just want you to know that I swear to God, this is in fact an endorsement for Speaker Mike Johnson. He's just got a lot to say before the endorsement. He has to set it up, all right? There's a lot he's got to get off his chest to set the stage for the endorsement, so stick with me on this. We ran a flawless campaign, Trump continues, having spent far less with lots of money left over. They ran a very expensive sinking ship, embracing DOJ and FBI weaponization against their political opponent, me. But it didn't work. It was a disaster. Let's not blow this great opportunity, which we've been given. The American people need immediate relief from all of the destructive policies of the last administration. Speaker Mike Johnson is a good, hardworking, religious man. He will do the right thing, and we will continue to win. Mike has my complete and total endorsement. MAGA. Now, that's the statement, and I think that the framing of the message is, in fact, important, if not incredibly entertaining, because, well, Trump is Trump. The framing is important because he laid out how we've won. We won against all odds. We won against a corrupt and well-funded machine who made mistakes and are being excoriated. Meanwhile, we're being praised. Why screw this up? We look competent. We look effective. We look like winners. Why next week do we want to enter into what can only be described as a loser scenario? Why would we want to screw up this great and momentous and resounding victory with a squabble over the gavel in the House of Representatives, especially since not one person, you understand, Trump has stayed silent for the last week plus since the fight over the continuing resolution, right? He has stayed silent. He has not said anything about Mike Johnson. Why? Well, you can read into it however you'd like, but frankly, knowing Trump, I think he was waiting to see if somebody was going to emerge, if somebody was going to step up, if somebody was going to take this opportunity and say, yeah, you know what, I should be speaker. But we heard nothing. We heard nothing from nobody. So what do we want to do? Start the end of this week, next week, with this new Congress swearing everybody in, and then you have this fight where you can't reach an agreement on who the speaker should be. Trump would look bad. The Republican Party would look bad. Would look like we can't lead. The people just gave us this victory, and now we can't move forward. I'm not saying this is what I think. I'm telling you this is what I read into what Trump is doing here. He waited. No one emerges. Enough is enough. It's almost New Year's. The Congress is going to convene. First order of business is picking the speaker. No one stepping forward. Then let's just stick with the plan. Let's go forward. Most important part of this, I think, Speaker Mike Johnson is a good, hardworking, religious man. He'll do the right thing, and we will continue to win. Also, the American people need immediate relief from all the destructive policies of the last administration. In other words, we can't waste time on this other stuff, whether it's because of ego or vengeance, retribution, whatever it is. We need immediate efforts. We need to win now. So let's move forward. That's what Trump's conveying here. That's the message he's sending. I also, even though I kind of made fun of it, I think that it's telling that he had a lot to say about his victory. He had a lot to say about defeating the Democrats. He had a lot to say with how the last 6 months have gone, especially against all the odds, all the money, all the celebrity endorsements, and even the Justice Department and the FBI weaponizing against him. We won all of that. So now why do we want to inflict a wound on ourselves? Let's talk about all that first. Then at the end, I'll say, let's keep Johnson as the Speaker of the House. I think that that's telling, because the bigger issue is not who is the Speaker of the House. The bigger issue is the victory that we just enjoyed and not getting in the way of our own good news cycle. And I think that's what Trump is conveying, not just with this endorsement, but the way he communicated this endorsement. Now, there's been lots of commentary, as you can well imagine, over the last 60 minutes about this. Let's start with Speaker Johnson himself, who understandably was very grateful for the endorsement. Thank you, President Trump, he says. I'm honored and humbled by your support as always. Together, we will quickly deliver on your America First agenda and usher in the new golden age of America. The American people demand and deserve that we waste no time. Let's get to work. Now, interesting that Trump said that the American people deserve immediate relief. Now, Trump doesn't become president until January 20th, of course, as I said, 3 weeks from today. But when Congress convenes and after they choose their leadership officially, they can get to work immediately on bills. They can draft legislation. They can get things in the hopper. They can get things voted on. They can have bills waiting for Donald Trump sitting on his desk at 1600 Pennsylvania. He returns from being sworn in. He walks that mile. He'll drive part of it up Pennsylvania Avenue to his new house, which is his old house for 4 years. Get right to work, and he can sign bills into law on day one. A lot of times you see executive actions on day one. Well, why not get bills signed into law? You've got 20 days now, or 2 weeks at least, for the House of Representatives to get this going. Also, the Senate's going to be involved in the confirmation process for the cabinet. But you're signaling here, right? Together, we will quickly deliver. You see those words on your America First agenda. Obviously, this was the conversation. You know that Mike Johnson had a conversation with President Trump. President Trump said, all right, listen, Mike, I'll go ahead and put my endorsement, but I've been down this path before. I've been down this path and it didn't work out well for me, because the last guy I gave full unequivocal support to when I was about to be inaugurated for president, well, it didn't quite go to plan. Yeah, let's not forget. Paul Ryan became speaker with Trump's support and endorsement, and then immediately sat on his hands on the border protection, sat on his hands on the border wall, sat on his hands on a lot of the aspects of the Trump agenda until he got his tax cuts through, until he got, other than, listen, I'm not saying the tax cuts weren't good, but the priority for Trump in 2016 was fix immigration, secure the border, build the wall, let's go. And instead, Ryan said, nah, hold off on that. Let's do this first. Tax cuts are more important. I think that undermined Trump's power and influence in town bigly. This time around, Trump is saying, listen, pal, I'll do this for you, but we're going to do things my way. It's my agenda. You need to move quickly, because I just won the presidency. You wouldn't be speaker right now. Thune wouldn't be majority leader right now if I hadn't won so overwhelmingly. And Johnson said, you bet, let's go. Let's go. And that's what's moving along. All right, Matt Gaetz has an opinion on this. I know you may be thinking, well, Matt Gaetz isn't even in Congress anymore. And he's not what it is. Well, Matt Gaetz, I think it's fair to say, probably has a good working knowledge of the interpolitical drama of the Speaker of the House fights. Let's face it. He was a big part of ousting Kevin McCarthy midterm last time around. And because of that, by the way, he made a lot of enemies in the Republican caucus, but he knows a lot about what's going on behind the scenes because he was one of those guys behind the scenes. Here's Gaetz's take on this. Trump endorsing Johnson is art of the deal level practicality. We could never have held up McCarthy 2 years ago if concessions if a Trump certification hung in the balance. Let me pause there for a minute. No, it does, he says. You see, you'll remember that 2 years ago when McCarthy, after the midterms of 2022, won the speakership, he had to negotiate and wrangle, and there was a lot of arm twisting for him to be Speaker of the House. Matt Gaetz was one of the people, along with other people in the Freedom Caucus, who said, okay, yeah, we'll vote for you, but we don't trust you entirely on budget issues, on spending issues. You're going to go into a back room. You're going to make a deal. So if you want our endorsement, here are some of the things that we demand. And that ended up being a protracted experience. It took many days, if not a couple of weeks, until finally they had the vote and Kevin McCarthy had secured enough Republicans to be Speaker of the House. The difference this time around is on January 6th, you need to have a Speaker of the House to affirm the Electoral College so that Trump can be president. So you don't have time like you did in 2022 in the midterms. Republicans have to move, and they have to move now. And that's what Matt Gaetz said. We couldn't have held up McCarthy 2 years ago for concessions, the concessions that we got. All right, he goes on. We were able to hold up McCarthy because Republican voters weren't all that eager to see us getting back to being Biden's bitch, which Kevin ultimately did anyway. It's Matt Gaetz talking. The resistance to Speaker Johnson is now futile. Let's work to make him the best version of himself, which was more like the 2023 vintage of Mike. All right, so that's Matt Gaetz chiming in as well, and noteworthy, I think, considering he knows a lot of the drama here, and probably politically is aligned with most of the people who are skeptical in the House of Representatives right now about Mike Johnson's ability to lead going forward, and they may be a little, wounded based on his first attempt at this continuing resolution a couple of weeks ago in working with Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, a major mistake, obviously, at the time. All right, finally, Terry Schilling, of course, from what's his group called?
American Principles Project.
Thank you, Kevin. American Principles Project, a good cultural, social conservative. Can't accuse him of being anything short of MAGA. He replied on this with some notes, I think, that are worthy of observation when it comes to Speaker Johnson. Mike Johnson is probably one of the most difficult jobs of any speaker in U.S. history. True, he's got, a 2-seat majority right now, 3-seat majority. He has managed to get several key wins and votes on issues important to the American family, including defunding sex changes for kids in the NDAA. He has my full support. Yeah, see, people forget about that. Listen, I understand that a lot of people are angry at some of the less fully conservative decisions that Mike Johnson has made as speaker, including some Ukraine funding things. He's decided to pick the fights that he can pick and fight the fights that he can win when he can pick them and fight them, and then decide to relinquish on fights that he can't win. And you can judge that. It's your ability to judge it, your right to judge it. But he did hold the line on some things that I think most conservatives should be happy with, as Terry Schilling just said, with that as well. All right. Now, is this enough to put this to bed? Is it enough to have Tom Massey or Chip Roy or some of the other Republicans who have expressed their reluctance to move forward with Mike Johnson as Speaker? Is Donald Trump's endorsement enough to keep them aside? Maybe just vote present. Maybe don't vote at all. I don't know. I really don't know. Let's see what happens. But I want to say, if you're Speaker Johnson right now and you want to retain the gavel and you want to move forward with the Republican majority and get to work, you would rather have that endorsement from Trump than not have that endorsement from Trump. So this is a huge win for Johnson. And clearly, Trump has worked this out. This is where he wants to go. So now this is now no longer a test of Mike Johnson's ability. This is now a test of Republicans in the House's loyalty to their new president and whether they will follow through on this. And that will be a drama we're all going to be watching. Increased tariffs on our trade partners. That's being discussed right now. Tax cuts. Hopefully we can keep them. Regulation changes. Learn why gold is a viable diversification tactic now more than ever, because all those news stories I just told you about, it's affecting your savings. It's affecting your investments and your retirement. And gold is a great way to diversify. Birch Gold, the only gold company I endorse, they're releasing their ultimate guide for gold in the Trump era. And it is got a foreword by Donald Trump Jr. You can get a free copy just because you know me, along with Birch Gold's free information kit on gold. All you got to do is text my name, Larry, Larry, to 989898. The facts are the national debt continues to increase. Our interest payments on the national debt continue to increase. Gold is still your hedge against a weakened dollar. Birch Gold, still the company I recommend. to help you convert an existing IRA or 401k to a tax-sheltered IRA in gold, not one penny out of your pocket. So just text Larry, Larry, to 989898. Get your free copy of the ultimate guide for gold in the Trump era. There's no obligation, just good information. Once again, that's my name, Larry, to 989898. Get your free copy of the ultimate guide for gold in the Trump era from my friends at Birch Gold.